Hey, NerdSync here, and in this video I am going to take you through a brand new setup of a recent broadcast I did for a Basics of Synched program in London using a GH5, a Zoom F8, the Blackmagic UltraStudio and Wirecast. Let's get into it. Okay, so before we start, welcome to my new work in progress studio. I always apologize for the infrequent video uploads. It's been mental, just settling into the new home. Hope you like the new studio. It's a work in progress, and I'm not gonna promise to upload regularly. It's just my life, man. Like with freelancing, my full-time job being a video editor, settling into the new home, traveling a lot, it's just insane. But I'm really excited to share this video with you today because it's been over a year now since the very famous Birmingham Multicam Broadcast, which was just also moved things forward in terms of broadcasting. And then I made a video later on in the year from Edinburgh, sharing a new setup there and what we did and some big problems we had there. But this video going through the setup using some new equipment, and my goodness, it was an awesome broadcast, if you don't mind me saying. If you guys saw it, I hope you'll agree. So from the Birmingham Multicam, one of the main issues we had was that we weren't filming the Multicam itself, we were just broadcasting it. But in this instance, we used a GH5 and we were able to take out a HDMI connection into the broadcast software and record in 4K at the same time. So that was huge benefit to us, that we have that opportunity to edit the raw footage after. Second challenge of broadcasting is synced audio. Now from the Birmingham Multicam and from the Edinburgh Multicam, which I've spoken about on my channel before, we have inputted audio separately into the broadcast software, mainly because that was the only way of doing it. But it does come with an advantage that if something happens to your camera, or say if you switch angles, then your audio is separate. So the audio is always going to be there, it's always going to be running at that good quality, it's not going to be lagging. Say if something happened to your internet as well, it just started buffering a little, the audio normally keeps running. This happened a lot at Birmingham Multicam, so it keeps that continuity. However, you will have problems with syncing. So in this broadcast, we did something a little bit different. We actually used the F8 both to record audio, talk about that in a minute, but we took an output from the F8, plugged it into the GH5, and then the HDMI out from the GH5 that goes into the broadcast carries sound with it, so you've got no issues whatsoever with syncing. It's absolutely seamless and you don't have to worry about that. So that was a huge thing about this broadcast. I was really happy with it. So at this event, it was an evening long Keaton, so we were recording it in 4K using two GH5s, one with a wide angle lens, which is the one that I'm recording on right now, and also this new GH5, which I've been blessed with a 42.5mm lens that gives you, in essence, an 85mm lens in 4K as the second angle. And then we're recording high quality audio using the Zoom F8. So this is now a bump up from the Zoom H6. Has 8 inputs, so we split each XLR. One goes into the amp, so the Sangha to the congregation can hear that, and the other one goes into here. And then the cool thing about the F8, which the H6 doesn't do, is that you can isolate each channel and listen to it. So with the H6, you just hear the whole thing, and it can sometimes be difficult to hear if something doesn't sound quite right. But with this, you can click one button, you're just listening to that one input, and then you can alter it. And then this H2N, the notorious H2N, if you haven't seen it, I've made a long video about this. This is in front of the Keaton, in front of the devotional music, the singers, and it is recording as a backup, but it's also plugged into the F8. Instead of just XLRs, which would create more of a studio sound, this H2N is plugged into here, then gives it, then the recording has more ambience, has more atmosphere. Something new and exciting, hugely inspired. I think I mentioned it before, Peter McKinnon on YouTube. He shoots flat and he talks a lot about color grading. For the first time now, we are filming completely flat with the intention of color grading, LUTs and all that, so that's a really new exciting thing that we're going to be doing. And I'm shooting this video in flat actually, so this is the first time I'm going to be applying a LUT to a NerdSync video, so let's see how it turns out in the studio. I have no idea, I might even be out of focus, who knows. But anyway, so that's 4K recording, 2 cameras, 1 wide, 1 zoom. We've got high quality audio, which we can listen to each channel with the atmospheric element added into there. Okay, the exciting bit, the broadcast. So as usual, the internet at the Gurdwara didn't work. On hindsight, I think it might have been a driver problem with the Mac. Not sure on that one, but the Ethernet ports there, I couldn't get them working unfortunately. So lo and behold, we had to resort to finding somebody with a very large data package on their phone, and we ended up tethering. So there you have it, that was the internet, got that going in the end, and with a HDMI cable coming out of this GH5 with the 85mm f1.2, now talking about f1.2 aperture, it was dark. I mean, just look at this Instagram screenshot, the story, that's how dark it was. So with the f-stop on 1.2, the lowest it can go, on 360 degrees for the shutter speed, and also ISO 800, we were really pushing this camera, and you can see that it's a little dark, but it's, you know, it's not grainy. The GH5 did a great job. And then the broadcast viewers haven't actually seen the wide angle. That wasn't connected to the broadcast, that was just filming on its own as a wide shot for the edit after, which would come on YouTube. That also did very well. That's a Sigma 18-35 1.8, very popular lens for the GH5 with the Metabones. So that gives it an f-stop of 1.2. So the GH5, this one has an HDMI out, and that then plugs into this guy. You cannot plug this, you cannot plug a HDMI port straight into your Mac or your PC. The computer doesn't know what to do with it. So the Blackmagic, I think I've got a sticker on it, I think it's Ultra Mini Studio, something like that, plugs into the HDMI, and then out you get a Thunderbolt cable. So then that goes into the Mac and then, or PC, and then you're able to then read that signal. But something different and exciting, and probably the main reason why I'm sharing this video, is last year talked about syncing problems because the audio is separate from the camera when doing the broadcast. If something happens to the camera, or if you change angle, then you lose your audio, or say if your internet connection starts to lag, then your audio will start to lag. But if your audio is separate, then that's good. The audio will usually continue to play. This Birmingham Samagham last year, that broadcast is a prime example of that. However, you do have syncing issues. Edinburgh Samagham made a video about this too on my channel, check it out. Similar kind of setup, used a H6 and audio was separate. So in this scenario, for this program, we took an out from the Zoom F8, plugged it straight into the GH5, and then the HDMI that comes out of the GH5, that carries audio. So that's a huge time saver, really, and you're saving a port on your computer as well, and you have literally no problems with syncing. So that was really cool. But what I did find was that when playing back the broadcast on an iPhone, sometimes when the broadcast would kind of stop and then pick up again, the audio would go a little bit out of sync, but on the computer, on my smart TV, it ran completely fine. So if anybody knows anything about this, let me know. Okay, so you guys following? Recording's done, audio sorted. So we've got our high quality audio, that's going into our 4K camera, and out of it is coming a 1080p connection, and that's going into here, which then will end up in Wirecast. So Wirecast is the broadcasting application that we use this time. I've used OBS in the past. I've also used Wirecast. I did have quite a hard time getting Wirecast to see the GH5. What I found was that if the camera wasn't recording, then it would see it. Then you can press record and it will continue to see it. However, if you press record first and then try and plug it into the computer, the software won't be able to see it. Even though the Blackmagic driver software sees it, Wirecast, or I tried it on OBS as well, they don't see it. So that was an interesting observation, and it was a little buggy both on OBS and Wirecast. I don't know what's up with that, but there you go. So we've got a nice image coming into Wirecast, and I added some cinematic bars and then the basic Synched logo. Now onto the juicy part, guys. This video is not sponsored, but man, a huge shout out and thank you to the team ShabadOS, who have created the next generation of Gurbani search engine and have also integrated a feature to allow you to connect this to your broadcast software. So if you remember from the Edinburgh broadcast video that I made, not only did I lose that video on YouTube due to some processing errors, but I was copying and pasting every single line of Gurbani into Wirecast, trying to keep up with the Kirtanis. But this software, in short, allows you to, when you search your Shabad as you would using Synched to the Max or iGurbani or any of the search engines out there, when you click on the Shabad, it sends it straight to Wirecast. And the way it does it is that the system of ShabadOS is essentially a web server. So you set up this layer or element, I'm not sure what you call it, and you make it talk to the IP address of ShabadOS. Then you input whatever CSS, whatever design you like, and this is where the huge thanks to ShabadOS is, because they helped me a lot with this, to create the design you want. And then whatever Punkhti you click on, it makes that change in ShabadOS and sends that information to Wirecast. So with a click of a button, I was able to have the Punkhti being sung in real time come up on the broadcast. Now this isn't new, I mean this has been out for quite some time now, and some of the Macbook broadcasts that you may have watched in the last maybe 6 months have started to implement this. And even I'm led to believe the other Gurbani search engines like Synched to the Max, they're doing something similar too. I've had my experience with ShabadOS and it is amazing. Now the way I was using it was that ShabadOS was installed on my computer, my Mac, and I was typing in the Shabads and clicking on them and it was changing Wirecast. But the ideal way to actually work it is that of course the program you're at will most likely have projectors to show the Shabad to the Sangat there. And if you install ShabadOS on that computer that the projector Synched is using, then if you are on the same network, the computer that's broadcasting and the computer that is projecting, then you can actually make them talk to each other so that one person is doing the job of changing the Shabad. That affects and puts the Shabad on the screen on the projector, and it will change it on your broadcast. I mean, wow, because I mean for me, I was monitoring 2 4K cameras, I was monitoring audio, I was monitoring the broadcast, I was monitoring the internet connection, and I was dealing with the Kirtan times and sorting out mics and stuff. It was a lot, and then trying to change the Shabad in real time is too much for one guy. ShabadOS have created this system where from anybody on that network, it could be from an iPad on the Wi-Fi, a phone, or preferably the person working the projector, they can deal with the Shabads and you can deal with the broadcast. That is awesome. So huge thank you to them, both for making the effort to create this software and make it open source as well, but also for helping me and working with me to make this broadcast happen. And it was actually as a result of the Edinburgh broadcast, they saw the pain I went through, copying and pasting that they got in touch with me at that point, late autumn last year, and they've been working very hard on this app. And perhaps in the future, I'll make a specific video on the app ShabadOS and how it works, so that you guys, if you ever broadcast or want to use this in your Gurdwara just for the projector, it's so powerful the way that you can search and the hotkeys and the shortcuts and the customizability is insane. It needs a video, it needs a series on its own, to be honest. So I'll try my best to make that time in the future to do that. It's something I'm really passionate about, and hopefully I can make a video for you. Okay, so the Wirecast broadcast is set up, everything is there. We got the video, we got the audio with the video, we got the nice cinematic bars, the logo, and we got the gurbani connected to it. How do we actually broadcast? Now, my intention was to broadcast both to YouTube, to our YouTube channel, and also to our Facebook page, because both have large audiences. Now, if you were to do that through Wirecast, you would be uploading, you'd be streaming to 2 platforms separately. In other words, you'd be using double your bandwidth. However, by my good friend at DGN Sounds, they introduced me to this website called Restream.io. And what Restream allow you to do is, if you set up Wirecast just to send the stream to Restream.io, the website, then through Restream you can choose multiple platforms, and then the website will do the work of distributing your feed to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and whatever other platforms they have. Now, this is my intention. I couldn't get it to work. I was under a huge amount of pressure because I couldn't get the internet working, as I mentioned before. So what I ended up doing was directly streaming to YouTube from Wirecast. Worked really, really well. So I was happy with that. So as well as streaming to YouTube, on Wirecast you have the functionality of recording your stream locally to your drive, and this is something I've been reluctant to do in the past because of the strain that it might put on the processor, overheating, and of course where are you going to put it with low memory on your computer. However, due to my experience at the Edinburgh Amalgam, where I lost the broadcast after I pressed stop, I decided to give this a shot. Since then, managed to invest in a Samsung T5. That's a USB-C SSD drive, so hugely fast, 2 terabytes. It's awesome. So I set up Wirecast to directly record the stream, the broadcast, to that drive. So if anything happened to the broadcast, I'd have that record there if I needed it, and worked really well. My Mac didn't overheat. It is quite high spec, and didn't take up much processing power, and the file sizes were surprisingly quite small, and it allows you to actually choose what kind of bitrate you want to record at and what kind of quality. So that was really cool. Really glad I did that. So you are able to do that in Wirecast alongside your stream, and it didn't really affect anything as far as I can see. So just to wrap up this video, just some thoughts on the broadcast. I'm really happy now that the camera that we broadcasted we can also film with. Next time I probably will try to record audio separately for the broadcast, because there's too much risk with, say, if the camera, something happens to the camera, the angle, then you lose sound. That's not so good, and if the internet isn't so good, I got lucky, the tethering was awesome at this event, but to have separate audio I think is powerful. And then you just really have to figure out the difference in time so that you can sync the audio and video together. But I guess once you've done that, it's going to be the same, you know, every time you broadcast from there. Another feature of the F8, which the H6 cannot do, is record and have a USB interface into a computer at the same time. This is why in the past we've had to use one H6 to record audio and then take an out from that H6 into another H6 or a similar device and plug that into our Mac for the broadcast. With this one, with this firmware update with the Zoom F8, we can record directly onto the SD card and at the same time have a USB out going into the computer, which then can be for the broadcast. So let's see how that goes next time. It would be really cool to have a multicam broadcast, and the only way that we're doing that at the moment is we've got one of these and then we have a USB webcam. I've talked about it before. I'll put a link in the description of which one we're using. Obviously it's very inferior quality, and then the audio, when we switched to it, then we lost the audio, so I didn't use it much during this broadcast. But to have two GH5s connected to the broadcast, you need some next level equipment. I have tried to use two of these connected to the Mac. I haven't been able to do it, but from what I've read, it might be possible. Let me know in the comments if you've achieved this, because that would be a cheaper solution. That would be a cheaper solution to buy two of these and use that. However, if you buy something like a Blackmagic 8M, then you plug your cameras into that and you can do the switching and the transitions, and then that 8M comes out, you get one connection to here, and then that's just your one feed into the broadcast. So that's probably the ideal situation, but that kind of hardware is really expensive, so maybe another time. Okay, so that's my setup video of the Panasonic GH5 with the F8 into Wirecast using ShabadOS streaming to YouTube. Hope you enjoyed it, hope you learned something, and leave a comment in the description below of what kind of video or tutorial you'd like to see next, and I will catch you in the next one. Nerdsing out.